New York put a moratorium on large data centers this summer. The project 30 miles north of Manhattan needs 45 megawatts, 5 short of the line where that ban begins. And that gap is where this entire fight now lives. We begin 30 miles north of New York City, in Rockland County, where a data center is moving forward despite a statewide moratorium. Governor Kathy Hochul announced that moratorium last month to considerable fanfare, but the executive order applies only to facilities requiring 50 megawatts or more. DataBank's Orangeburg project would use 45. If its planned expansion goes through, 5 megawatts under the line. Residents protested outside Orangetown Town Hall on Tuesday. Dave Rosen, co-founder of the Bi-State Datacenter Crisis Coalition, said the biggest issue is that these facilities sit next to residential areas and, most importantly, next to Lake Tappan. This week the town passed its own moratorium, and then exempted the DataBank project because it is already in the approval process. Residents were furious. DataBank, for its part, says it takes no water out of the reservoir at all. That same frustration carried protesters up the steps of the Utah State Capitol. Their target is Stratus, a proposed data center development in Box Elder County spanning roughly 40,000 acres and powered by its own natural gas plant. The projected draw is around 9 gigawatts. That is close to double what the entire state of Utah consumes today. The site sits inside the Great Salt Lake Basin, a watershed already in ecological crisis after decades of diversion, and opponents argue that basin does not have an extra drop to give. The project is backed by investor Kevin O'Leary. Demonstrators have delivered a petition carrying more than 7,000 signatures, demanding independent review and what they call a genuine public comment period, while a separate referendum group works to put the project's fate directly in front of county voters. That kind of pressure is now translating directly into local law. In Elkhart, Indiana, the city council voted 9-0 at a special meeting to impose a moratorium on both data centers and battery energy storage facilities. The pause runs until December of 2027, and for that entire period the city will not accept applications for either type of project. What makes this one notable is who supported it. Mayor Rod Roberson stood with the council rather than against it, saying he stands right with them, and that this is not a complete rejection of data centers. His framing was that the city needs time to understand what these facilities actually mean for the community before it begins approving them. A unanimous council, and a mayor who agrees with every one of them. Georgia delivered a similar answer, and delivered it in silence. The Coweta County Board of Commissioners voted unanimously to deny the rezoning application for the data center known as Project Oak. Developers had already scaled their request down to a 255-acre parcel, apparently hoping a smaller footprint would land better with the board. It did not. Commissioners listened to the developers, listened to residents who had organized themselves under the banner Stop Project Oak, and then, without any discussion at all among themselves, voted the petition down. After the vote, the developers said they would take resident feedback into account before deciding what comes next. Under the county's own zoning procedure, they will have to wait a full 6 months before they are even permitted to reapply. And the reason so many of these local fights keep landing on cost brings us to Virginia, where regulators just moved the bill. The State Corporation Commission ordered Dominion Energy to develop a tariff that directly assigns transmission costs to the large customers who make that infrastructure necessary in the first place. In practice, that means a mandatory contribution in aid of construction, applied to direct connect facilities, covering both the substations and the transmission lines that link them to the grid. The case grew out of Dominion's request to recover roughly $1.5 billion through its Rider T1 charge. The Commission approved an amended allocation factor and cut the proposed monthly increase for a typical residential customer from $2.90 down to 94 cents. A reduction of roughly 67%. The pressure on the grid is only half the story. Water tells the other half. And in New York's Finger Lakes it is being told on a shoreline. Opponents of a proposed 300-megawatt artificial intelligence data center on Cayuga Lake are gathering at Salt Point Natural Area in Lansing, pressing Governor Hochul to sign legislation restricting large-scale development. The project belongs to Tara Wolf, and the coalition fighting it, FLX Strong, argues it would carry environmental, quality of life, and economic consequences across the entire watershed. The gathering is part of a statewide tour organized by State Senator Kristen Gonzalez and the group Food and Water Watch, moving from town to town, building pressure on a bill the governor still has not committed to signing. State legislators are taking notice, and in New Jersey one of them just got a signature. Governor Mikey Sherrill signed legislation requiring data centers to report their water and energy use to state regulators every 6 months. Operators will have to disclose total energy consumption, the energy used for cooling and for information technology equipment, peak water use per day, where that water comes from, and what backup power supplies they hold. The Board of Public Utilities then has 30 days to publish that information on its website and to keep it updated. This matters because data center operators have generally treated those numbers as trade secrets. Sherrill signed the bill at the South Brunswick Public Library, and her line was about as direct as it gets. She will not let these developers operate in the shadows. And the money behind all of this has not slowed down for a single moment. J.P. Morgan Chase has begun early outreach to lenders on a $5 billion debt package to fund an artificial intelligence data center build-out for Volta Infra Holdings. If that name means nothing to you, that is very much the point. Volta is a new artificial intelligence cloud company that closed $300 million in venture funding earlier this month, a round that valued the whole business at $2.4 billion. Now a major bank is assembling debt worth more than twice that valuation. Just to build the physical footprint, communities are voting on moratoriums measured in acres and megawatts, and capital is moving in billions, on a timeline that answers to no city council. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment. It helps us cover more of these stories.